Well, the Brewers have named a new manager, and it's not John Barry. What happened?
It's not Ron Gardenhire. I thought they'd go with Gardy, but no, they went with Craig Counsell, former player, two-time World Series champ, and
1-0 as
so far so good. You beat Clayton Kershaw on your debut, then I got to believe that the future's bright.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Brewers, where they go from here with the new manager. We got the Jets in town this weekend again.
2 games away from the Robertson Cup finale.
Yeah, the finals, and I'll break down a couple of races in the high school baseball and softball scene.
They are heating up. Yes, sir.
It's already the second half of the season.
I know.
So. All that and more on this week's episode of Xtra Points. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Xtra Points. Alongside sports reporter John Barry here, I'm Eric Schmoldt, sports editor of the Gazette, and we're here as we are every week, but sometimes in different surroundings to discuss.
We keep it secret because there's so many rabid fans that want to come and watch that we have to keep our location a secret, so they'll never find out. They'll never know we're in a building located downtown that we actually work from.
But they always know we're going to talk about sports,
yes, we are,
local or statewide here, and as we just kind of mentioned in the intro.
And if I asked you the second hottest team in Major League Baseball, what would your answer be?
The Astros?
No, they lost to Texas last night.
But they'd won 10 in a row before
They had one. I'm talking winning streak.
Straight up winning streak.
Second longest winning streak in the majors right now.
It's the Brewers,
It's the Brewers behind the Cardinals, yes.
Wow.
Pretty amazing stuff.
Break them up.
They're now 8-18, and I project right now I'm going 144-18 for their final record.
That would be, I think, a record.
That would be incredible.
A couple of records would be set if that was the case. But yeah, the Monday night was the debut of Craig Counsell in his sharp-looking hoodie.
Is it just me, or does he look like he's 15?
Well, I think it was the hoodie. He looks like he could be the bat boy with that hoodie on.
He looks like he could go out and play still, and he probably could. But he is the youngest-looking manager, and I think once he gets his driver's license, he's going to really be intimidating down in the dugout.
I think he could really do well in the Big 8 conference.
I think he could at like 119 pounds wrestling, because that's what he looks like.
I think he needs to like wear a jersey.
He needs a beard. He needs a beard. He needs something to make him look a little bit older.
I mean, bow tie.
He's going to get carded anywhere he goes. There's no doubt about it.
But hey, maybe kind of a strange situation, because they end up firing Ron Roenicke after they win their first 2 games in a row of the entire season. They beat the Cubs 2 out of 3 and take a series, and then they welcome him back by saying, "It's been a fun ride. We'll see you later."
And gave him an extension earlier, didn't they?
Well, yeah. Going into the season, they used their option. I think
that was a short extension cord they had with Ron Roenicke.
I think we all know extensions and things like that don't really mean a whole lot these days.
But I got to ask you. Was it the right move, or would you have gone Melvin and Roenicke?
Right. I'm kind of surprised they didn't just do a full clean sweep, but I guess you give this change a chance for maybe a week or 2 or maybe a month, and see, does this actually change anything, or are we still in the same boat here?
Right.
Because then if mid-season rolls around and you're not in it, and you know you're going to have to blow everything up and start over, you might as well bring a new mind in to figure that out.
Well, and I read something, I don't know, magazine or newspaper, something about the fact that since basically the Braun and Fielder and Ricky Weeks era, the Brewers haven't drafted anyone that's made an impact really other than Jonathan Lucroy. That's it. I mean, the rest of them have had some, I mean, they've come along, but for the most part, the only impactful draft pick that they've had since, I think, the Braun draft year has been Lucroy. And that's a reflection of Melvin, and that's why I'm surprised that Mark has that much, faith in Melvin to get the job done. But like you said, I think they're going to give it time. Counsell got a 3-year deal. If he's not cut out to be a manager, he's probably gone after this year, but he's going to get paid for 3 years.
You think so? I think they would give him a chance to try to get things
Well, it
around.
Depends. I mean, if they don't play well at all, I mean, you got to do something. But again, Ramirez, Loesch, Garza, those guys could all be gone in another month or so if they start unloading and looking to the future and looking to get younger.
If they do decide to break everything up, I would think if they decide that he's the guy, they almost have to they almost have to give them a leash that's longer than these 3 years, because if they blow everything up and start over, this is not going to be a 1 or 2 year process.
No, it can't be. It's not fair then.
It's going to be like the Cubs just have kind of been going through, where they said,
starts with drafting.
We're going to be terrible for a couple of years, but this is the approach we're going to take, and at some point it's going to get us back into contention.
And it's got to start with starting pitching. I mean, I know there's a few guys down in the minors, but for the most part, they got to get some arms. They got to get guys, because Garza, Loesch, those guys are serviceable. But again, I think given the chance and ability to unload those guys in contending teams, I don't think they'd hesitate to do that.
No, and I think I still think Willie Peralta can be a pretty darn good pitcher.
Peralta, Fires, and
Jimmy Nelson.
I think
that's a nice little
adequate. Those
young
three,
core.
I would agree.
But not any of them in ace caliber yet. So it would be nice. It's going to be a nice point to build from. But none of them are going to be guys that are next year are going to take you to 20 wins and lead you to a division title.
No, they got to get some arms, and that's got to come via the draft.
Do you think that? We're one game in as we record this. I don't think we can say based on that one comeback win that the Counsell hiring has changed everything.
Right.
But do you think?
I think he's got the players' respect. He played with 7 or 8 of them already. It was kind of funny. The first night, they get back-to-back triples, but then Parra gets thrown out of the plate on a play that you should never make in the big leagues. You never get making out at home with less than 2 outs, and he does that. And I'm thinking, is Roenicke still here? Is he in the dugout? What's going on? Because that was typical Roenicke stuff. They'd run themselves out of an inning, and they did it last night in Counsell's first game. But to their credit, Gomez with a big home run and Adam Lynn with a big pinch hit, and then Braun gets his butt out of the box and beats out an infield single, and that was a difference. And again, every year we complain about K-Rod. He's got 5 saves. He's getting the job done just like he did last year. And then about the middle of July, his arm will fall off, and he won't be able to get anybody out the second half. But so far, so good with him. And
they might not have to use him as much as they had to.
But they are headed in the right direction. They've won 3 in a row and 4 of their last 5. And they're getting some guys back. They're getting guys back. Jeanette's got to be close.
He's coming off the DL today, Tuesday, as we record this.
So he's coming back, and Lucroy said feels like he's a little bit ahead of schedule. So
and Gomez is back out there. So now all of a sudden, at least you have all your pieces back out there.
And I
again.
think Braun is finally, starting to hit a little bit and finding that groove. And Ramirez, especially against the Cubs, looked younger. He looked old the first couple of series this year, but he looked younger and a little bit more. His bat was a little livelier against the Cubs, I thought.
I would think they're not this bad.
No, they're not. They're not.
And maybe if you get all that group back together, now you have a new voice of reason at the top. I'm not saying they're going to rebound to take this whole thing or make the playoffs, but at least make yourselves respectable.
And I'm not going, the way to look at it, I think, is go back to 1989, and Jimmy Williams was the skipper of the Toronto Blue Jays, and they started 12-24, fired Jimmy, brought in Cito Gaston, and Cito led them to the division title in the playoffs. So do I think that's going to happen with the Brewers? No, but strange things have happened, and who knows? I think Toronto got to 91 wins that year after starting 12-24. So obviously, once Cito came on board, they played pretty good baseball, and you hope the Brewers, again, the Cardinals look like they're going to run away with that division right now, but, the wild card spot is certainly still there, and I guess that's what kind of right now you got to shoot for.
Get back to 500? That would be a decent goal.
They're 8-18 right now. 10 games under, but I think they're only 6 back in the wild card. So, there's a lot of baseball left. We're just starting May.
At least re-energize things a little bit, because I was getting to the point there where I just didn't even want to watch him or listen to him or anything. And at least now I want to see if they're maybe going to turn things around.
Maybe it'll change my mind about getting to Miller Park this summer.
Sounds good. You're going to get down to the Janesville Ice Arena this weekend.
I am, yes. Looking forward to the Jets in the Minnesota Wilderness. And,
not to be confused with the Minnesota Wild.
Wild, no. But the Wild, not faring well against the Blackhawks, and hopefully the Wilderness don't fare well against our Jets.
Talked to head coach Joe Dibble of the Jets and assistant coach Eric Largen today, and they expect, this is a team for the first time in a while that they haven't seen all season.
Right.
They go through the first 2 weeks of the playoffs where it's you face your division mates that they just crushed all season, and they just crushed them again. Well, now you got a new challenge that a team's coming to town that you haven't really seen this year, and he expects kind of an up and down, fast paced, yet probably not high scoring, because both of these teams pretty good goalies and pretty good defenses.
Right.
But should be exciting. Robertson Cup semifinal, best of 3 series.
And it's kind of odd because the Wilderness, located in Minnesota, probably a 5-6 hour bus trip, and yet they play Johnstown, which is probably a 10 or 12-hour bus trip. So
Probably longer than that.
Not really sure the logistics on that one, but no, I mean, this is why you play for home ice. I mean, if the Jets win the Robertson Cup, it'll happen at the Ice Arena because they're the home team, and they get 2 out of 3. They got to win 2 out of 3 with the Wilderness, and then move on to the final. And hopefully Friday, Saturday they get a win, and it doesn't come to that Monday night game where let's face it, anything can happen there. But they're playing well, and I don't think anyone expect them to run the table in the playoffs. I mean, it's pretty hard to do that. Lost the opener to the Sioux up there in St. Sault Marie, but came back with a pretty convincing win on Saturday, and now they're in a pretty good position.
Yeah, they said that loss, probably a bit of a wake-up call, maybe even one going forward, just kind of shows you can't really take any nights off or any shifts off. You just got to get things done.
And it snapped our boy's streak.
It did, yeah.
But he's still the MVP. He is the MVP, yes.
Those games, by the way, Friday, Saturday, and Monday night at
7 o'clock at the Janesville Ice Arena.
An interesting note, obviously the Jets have Matt Jerusik in net now, and he's been solid, but they're going to go up against their old friend Brock Couts, who was here for
I remember the name, yes.
almost 3 years, I think he spent here. And so it kind of adds a little level of intrigue. You're going up against your old goalie, you're taking your new hotshot goalie out there, and some familiar faces when they take the ice on.
I'll take our chances with the boy. With the freak. The freak will lead him to victory. I don't worry about him.
Yeah, I think that he bounced back just fine Saturday night, and
even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. You can't win every game. He's what, 29 out of the last 30? That's pretty good.
The other weird thing is that this is a best of 3 where Janesville just gets to host all 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
It's like going off of the awards from last week, just another backwards weird part of this league where every other league you've ever seen, maybe the first 2 series would be best of 3, and then once you get to the most important series of the season, you would be best of 5 or 7 or whatever.
Well, and again,
I know it's it's obviously logistics travel wise. I mean,
Waxahachie, Texas.
Right.
I mean, you can't really get on a bus and go to those places. Well, you could, but it'd take you forever to get there.
It wouldn't be a whole lot of fun.
No, and that's why.
But still, it just seems
seems
so weird
that basically the Jets are serving as kind of the host for this whole thing, and they've got to take care of everything as far as the Wilderness goes with travel arrangements, because if they beat Janesville, they've got to move on, and they could possibly go to Texas, and Janesville's kind of in charge of getting all that itinerary together. So, let's just beat them and not worry about it and send them back to Minnesota, and we'll move on.
And worry about another team coming in here next week.
Exactly
that's what it would be. If they win the best of 3, all of a sudden the finals are here next weekend. And I mean, if you're ever going to stop down to the Ice Arena, it's this weekend and next weekend, because
you're going to see good hockey. I mean, it's not, the Nelson or the Hanson brothers from Slapshot. These are kids that can play, and trust me when saying this. I've been with the Jets the whole time. This is far and away the best team they've had. They've had some great talent, but I'm talking as a team, by far the most talent they've had, and it's reflected in their record.
And all these other teams have also they've gotten here by being great teams as well. So you're seeing the best of the best from one of the best junior leagues in the country.
Right.
And it's right here in your backyard. So take a couple hours out of your night and
go down there and
watch. Because, I also heard the Wilderness might bring some fans down. So might as well. We got to make sure that people at Janesville represent.
Can they find Janesville, you think? Or
there's things on your phone. And
okay, I suppose they could Google it. Yeah, I guess. All right.
Bring
them on.
I don't think
they're going to be disappointed, but bring them on.
They're from way up in the land of lakes.
Oh,
I don't know. Maybe they still use a Garmin up there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they probably do.
I found one of those in my closet the other day, and I was like, these still exist.
Yes.
That's the Jets, and in the high school scene.
Washout
kind of feels weird. Yeah, Tuesday. I mean, our first Tuesday washout, but. The second half of the seasons have gotten here pretty fast. The track seasons, the dual meets are pretty much almost
wrapping
done.
up. I think today's it.
Today was going to be the last day.
Yeah, those will still take place.
Second half of the baseball and softball seasons, I mean, it's already
in some interesting races.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you have a spot you'd like to start?
Well, I think you got to look at the Craig boys baseball team. The Cougars undefeated and really playing really good baseball right now. I mean, they haven't had a lot of close games. They are beating teams and beating them soundly. And, you look at the rest of their schedule as far as going unbeaten, and I know they're not looking that far ahead, and we probably shouldn't be either, but, certainly Thursday night under the lights at Riverside with crosstown rival Parker, who beat them 3 times last year, and obviously they're going to see Hunter Van Zant. Craig with a game tomorrow against Beloit on Wednesday. And word is that Morrow was going to pitch against Beloit because Beloit's 9-3 and a pretty good team. So that means you get Parker's ace against Craig's number 2, which is Chase Nyborg, still a pretty good option.
They faced each other last year.
Yeah, last year. So the Cougars, I think when you look at the record the rest of the year, certainly no game's a shoo-in, but I think the 2 games that stand out between them and a unbeaten regular season would be Parker on Thursday night, and then that trip to Sun Prairie, later this month.
But maybe that's for the undefeated season, sure. And
Right.
I don't know. I would go out and say I don't think that's going to happen. I just don't think that happens in this league very often, and
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him lose a game somewhere in there. But this week, when you have Beloit, Parker, and I think is it West on Saturday?
West or Verona, one of those.
One of
two,
those
yeah.
two. So
Yeah.
now you've got 3 games against the 5 teams that are still kind of behind you there. I
Right.
mean, if you win 3 of those, are you pretty much locked up the
and
conference?
they've got a 3-game lead now. Sun Prairie obviously has stubbed its toe a few times, and the Cougars with a big game against Beloit. I mean, Beloit 9-3 and playing well, and you really can't get caught looking ahead to Parker on Thursday because Beloit's kind of been the surprise of the Big 8. I mean, obviously the Cougars unbeaten, but you and I both felt coming in that Craig was going to have a pretty good team. But I don't think either one of us thought Beloit was going to be sitting at 9-3.
No, I don't think so. We'll see how it
We'll
shakes
see what
out.
happens, and
We'll know a lot more sitting here next
They
week.
could make it 2 Big 8 titles if the softball team and Dan Bayrider if they can hang on, and they've got a big doubleheader with Verona coming up, and that'll shake things out a little bit as well.
Doubleheader with Verona, doubleheader with Middleton still to come. So
Yeah.
I mean, those 2 days will pretty
Right.
much decide probably.
And that's a case where you hope you can split. If you can split with both of them, you're still in pretty good shape.
Yeah. Just got to make sure you win at least one.
Yep.
You and I both saw some Rock Valley baseball last week, and both the North and the South are pretty interesting races. Jefferson and Edgerton played each other last week and split their home and home. Well, the road team won each game, which
Yeah.
was interesting, and so they sit there at the top, tied in the Rock Valley North. I think 2 pretty good teams. They're both ranked in Division II. I'm not sure either of them had like the pitching depth to make a run at a state title, but
Right.
you never know.
You
And
never know.
It's an interest. I think unless someone slips up, that could be a case where both teams finish up with 1 loss there.
Well, and I think, and you're exactly right, and you get to that sectional, or you get to the state tournament in those lower divisions, you only need 2 studs. You need one for the semifinal game and one for the championship game. And when I think of that and 2 good pitchers, Parkview comes to mind because what Mielke and Struck did last weekend is pretty impressive. And left-handers keep you off balance, can get it up there when they have to. And, the Vikings weren't really looked at, I think, to threaten Turner this year, but certainly, got themselves right back in the thick of it last week. And in talking to the coach afterward, I mean, they're playing their best ball right now. And if you've got 2 quality pitchers, especially left-handers, that can go a long way come tournament time.
Yep, that got real interesting in the South real
Yeah.
fast. I think Turner was the number 1 team in the preseason, and I think everyone kind of expected them to run away with it, and that just hasn't been the case at all.
Nope.
And then in softball, kind of the one that stuck out to me last week was Evansville. I don't think that you or I had really pegged them on the radar that
No.
much, but all of a sudden they beat Turner. That's going to open your eyes.
Yeah.
Any team that beats Turner is going
Right.
to open your eyes, and all of a sudden they've got the same amount of losses as McFarland.
Right. And I saw McFarland and Turner play, and I thought at that point, I'm like, well, clearly these are the 2 best teams in the Rock. But, things, if a pitcher's not on or, things can happen. And for Turner, I think it's just a speed bump. I don't think it's going to,
They've pretty much got the
I don't think it's going to have any
South,
long-term
but-
effects. I didn't see if Kelsey Packard pitched that game or not. I don't know if maybe they overlooked him a little bit, but whatever the case might be, I don't worry about Turner until, like you had talked about, until they see Delavan in the tournament and Jenna Speth says, "Remember us? We beat you the last 3 years." So.
I'm just curious about Evansville. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not a team that
Well,
they can hit. I mean, you can if you look through their box scores, they hit in every
They hit.
game. They've got Kishore pitching. She's a veteran that knows
Yep.
what she's doing out there, and that could be a team that maybe we didn't give enough credit to that we got to
you're
keep an eye
exactly right.
on.
Yeah.
Any other races that stand out to you?
Well, I think the race in the Badger South is interesting in baseball just for the sake that it's going to affect the seeding for that tournament. And when you look at, I think Oregon's at top, and then you've got Stoughton, Melton's in there, and all those teams are going to filter into that Janesville sectional with Craig and Parker, along with West, Beloit, which is 9-3, and I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Parker's unfortunate forfeit that they had to take last week in a game against West when they had some pitching. A pitcher that pitched too many innings according to WIA rules, but you just hope that loss doesn't come back to haunt them in the seedings, because with 12 teams in that sectional, the top 4 get a bye. And if you don't get one of those byes, that means you're playing on Tuesday and Thursday. And, again, you've talked about it. Anything can happen where if you get that bye, you're off on Tuesday, you got your ace coming back on Thursday against the other team's number 2, hopefully. And it just makes it a lot smoother trying to get to that one-day sectional event where it's 2 games. So, again, with Craig, they're obviously a lock, I would think, at number 1. But then you've got Oregon, who's probably going to win the Badger South. You've got Verona, you've got Parker, you got Beloit, and you got West. You got 6 teams vying for those last 3 spots, and it's going to be interesting because obviously coaches are going to kind of vote for their own conference, and the Badger South's going to stick up for the Badger South, and the Big Eight's going to stick up for the Big Eight. And I just hope that one loss doesn't put Parker in that 5 seed where you're kind of playing from behind the 8 ball.
Yep. We'll see how the races shake out.
Yep.
And when that gets a little closer, we can probably talk a little bit more about how those discussions might shake out.
Right.
So, a couple of weeks away yet, but the second half of the season's here, and
it's getting closer.
It's showtime.
It is.
That should about do it for this week's version of Extra Points.
Yep.
I don't think either of us picked American Pharoah last week.
I did not pick American Pharoah. I think my horse is still running as we speak, and someday we'll be passing out of the gate and into the finish line. But
I did have Mayweather in a decision.
We both had Mayweather, and I might add that I correctly predicted that Steph Curry would win the MVP, and he did.
Nice.
And he did. So
Nice.
1 out of 10 for me. That's not bad.
Well, all right. So who's going to win once we get to? Just give me the overall winner. NBA Finals. Who over who?
I still like Golden State. Golden State over. I'm going to go with the Bulls.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but I think with Kevin Love out, I think the Bulls just match up better, and they don't have anybody. The Cavs don't have anybody that can guard Gasol. So he'll just whine and get a bunch of calls, and they'll win. But I like the Bulls, and I can't see anybody beating Golden State at home. They're so good at home, and they're just fun to watch. And I thought they were good all year. They were the best team, and I still think that.
Golden State Clippers would be pretty interesting. So
yeah, it would
hopefully we get to see that.
That would be.
All right, that's it for this week. Let us know what you think of the show. Either find us on YouTube or iTunes or
Facebook or
GazetteExtra.com.
GazetteExtra.com, Twitter.
And you can email us at sports@gazetteextra.com and
right.
just let us know what you think.
Yes.
Especially these new surroundings.
New
here.
digs.
Probably looks
New
the same
digs.
on video. That's all right. See you guys next week. Thanks to producer Andy Ryder and Kevin McLeod for the tunes.
Yes. Take care,
See you
everybody.
next week.
Go Brewers.